Good evening, everybody. It is I, Lore Seeker, and it is Tuesday, the 22nd of November. And if you have not yet watched my earlier video detailing the lore and history of one Kaya, then I recommend you do so, because this little ramble is just how I feel on the character, my opinions on Kaya, what I like about her, and why I hate her. Now, before I get into the stuff I don't like about Kaya, let me get into what I do like about Kaya. And when she was first introduced in Conspiracy 2 Electric Boogaloo, I really liked Kaya. I had a really positive first impression of the character, really positive. Two things. One, mechanically. Mechanically, she was very interesting to me. There were a lot less Planeswalker cards at the time, and hers was a very unique one. The ability to reset your loyalty to the starting loyalty was very neat, and at the time I thought that was a really cool ability. I also really liked the fact that her card had two different arts out the gate. Nowadays, every card has like 3 or 4 different arts, and they're all basically worthless. But back then, multiple arts per set for a card was a very rare thing, and hers was even more unique because she had the normal art, and then she had her foil art, and the foil art was showing Kaya phasing through the door, and that was really cool. And even now, I still kind of want that foil art, I just haven't ever had the opportunity to get it. Now, I also really liked her as she was introduced in the story, as this kind of roguish, mercenary type ghost hunter who took jobs for coin, and I thought that was really neat. So, my first impressions of Kaya were really good. I think the only problem I had with Kaya early on was I felt like there was wasted potential. You see, she was a ghost hunter, and we had just had our return to Innistrad. There was the Shadows over Innistrad set that came out just a few months before Conspiracy 2. So I felt like having her in Conspiracy rather than introducing her in Shadows over Innistrad, where she could have, felt more at home, more in place. I don't know what the right wording is there. She would have felt more natural on Innistrad hunting ghosts than in Conspiracy, than on Paliano, the plane of crazy plots and schemes, I think was a poor fit for her, when Innistrad would have just been cooler. So yeah, when Kaya was first introduced, I enjoyed her, and I had very high hopes for the character. I was looking forward, in fact, to seeing more of her and more characters like her. At the time, even though I had only been playing Magic for about 2 or 3 years, I was already very sick of the primary cast of characters, the ones who would become the Gatewatch, and I was looking forward to seeing more of the side characters. Planeswalkers like Kaya, Dak, characters we haven't seen a whole lot of back then, or even since then. Unfortunately, over time, I came to like Kaya less and less. Then I grew to dislike her, and nowadays I mostly just hate her, which is unfortunate for a character that I looked at initially and went, wow, that's really cool. So there are 2 groups of reasons for me disliking Kaya. There is the lore reasons, and then there is the corporate reason. Now, the corporate reason is easy, I guess, to explain, and it is my personal hatred for anything political popping up in my escapist fantasies. Now, I didn't know it at the time. I only learned it like a year or 2 later, but the day after Kaya's first story was published, Wizards of the Coast put out an article talking about how important it was that Kaya was their first black female planeswalker, and how they had an outside consultant help with designing her so she wouldn't be too cliched, and they talked about how important representation was in their game. And I don't know about you guys, everybody has their own opinions, but I just really despise any kind of pandering in a game. Let a character be a character. Kaya is a fictional individual. There's no reason whatsoever for her to represent anything. Just have her be the cool ghost killy lady. That's good enough. There's no need for her to represent anything. Just let her kill ghosts and be cool. And, that's kind of it in terms of my outside of the lore problems with her, and if that was the only issue I had with the character, I'd still probably to this day enjoy her. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You see, while there is the issue of the pandering nonsense with Kaya, my primary issues with her come from her actions and lack of consequences for those actions in the story. And let's talk about some of those. I lost my train of thought. In the story, when Kai is first introduced, she's this ghost hunting mercenary, and unfortunately she couldn't stay that way. She couldn't just be the character who runs from plane to plane, killing ghosts and taking coin. No, she had to become this character who goes anywhere she wants, makes everything worse, and then leaves with no consequences. And by that I mean, in every major story she's involved in, Kaya unmistakably makes things worse. When she is hired by Marchesa, in the very next story after she's introduced, Kaya's very second story, she's hired by Marchesa to kill Brago, as part of a plan for Marchesa to become the High Queen of Poliano. Now, Kaya doesn't question Marchesa's motives. She takes this very obviously sneaky, lying person, this obvious, scheming person, at face value, all because, she's totally willing to believe that Brago is obviously this tyrant. He's this evil king who became a ghost so that he could stay an evil king forever. She never second guesses or questions Marchesa's motives, and she never looks into the possibility of, what's going on with Brago. She just kills him, and killing Brago does unmistakably make Poliano worse. I'm not going to go into the whole lore of Poliano right here and why Marchesa's an awful queen, but make no mistake, Kaya killing Brago does make the city and the plane as a whole worse than it was. And that's just the first time it happened. Had that been the only time, cool. A mistake happens, move on. But unfortunately, these mistakes keep piling up. You see, the next time she pops up in the story, Kaya is hired by the most trustworthy individual in the multiverse, Nicol Bolas, to kill the Obzedat, the ghost council that rules the Orzhov Guild on Ravnica. And boy, she does just very easily murder the Obzedat. These ghosts are 10,000 years old, have access to magic that overpowers the Guild Pact, presumably have layer upon layer of defenses for their inner sanctum, and Kaya just waltzes in and kills all of them. That I have a problem with. I do have a problem with her killing some of the oldest spirits in the setting, but I also have a problem with how, there were no repercussions for her actions in regards to killing the Obzedat. Killing the Obzedat makes Ravnica a worse place. Kaya does an awful job as a guild leader, make no mistake of that. But beyond that, killing the Obzedat weakens the Orzhov immensely, and weakening the Orzhov weakened Ravnica, making it a more easy target for Bolas's, machinations. His war was easier because, A, she got rid of all the ghosts. She freed all the spirits that were tied to the Orzhov Guild. That's the biggest army Ravnica had, by a large margin. And she just got rid of them. And that was probably the single best defense Ravnica had against Bolas's army. And they're gone now, Good job, Kaya. She also destroyed the economy. In a matter of weeks, she completely ruined the economy. And overall, just her decisions, as the brief guild leader she was, made the Orzhov worse and made Ravnica worse. And again, suffered no consequences for her actions. Yes, she did join the Gatewatch to atone for those actions, sort of. But we don't really see any atonement or punishment being met out for her hand in really just absolutely fucking up the day. Good job, Gaia. You killed one of the pillars keeping the world stable and one of the best defenses against Bolas. Now, what else? When she's introduced on Kaldheim, I was very confused. I had no idea why Kaya was on Kaldheim. She was hired by a mysterious person, now we know that to be Tezzeret, to hunt down a monster. But that's not what Kaya does. She's a ghost hunter, and Vorinclex is a monster, and she felt like such an odd choice to be the person to go tackle this problem. More to the point, she did a really bad job at it. On Kaldheim, she kind of gives up tracking Vorinclex after exactly one fight and decides to fuck off and see what Tybalt's up to. And, good job, because not keeping on Vorinclex's tail is what allowed him to kill Essica, I think her name was, the god keeping the other gods immortal. So because Kaya was negligent in the one job she's had in years, all the gods of Kaldheim are probably going to die, making that world very vulnerable to what we know for a fact is an upcoming Phyrexian invasion. And you can blame that almost exclusively on Kaya, being just absolutely willing to just give up her job. My other problem with Kaldheim is how easily she kills Varagoth. For those who don't know, Varagoth is this super legendary demon who, years and years ago, the gods of Kaldheim couldn't kill him, so they had to seal him away. He breaks out during the Doomscar that Tybalt creates, and he's fucking shit up. But Kaya effortlessly slits his throat and kills him, and I thought that was the most lazy Mary Sue bullshit ever. Yeah, the gods can't kill this demon, but Kaya can effortlessly just slit his throat. Call it a day. I really fucking hated that. Now, she was also in the Brothers War story. She was the reason Teferi was, I don't know, she was the reason Teferi was able to go back in time, because she separated his spirit from his body, and the spirit went back in time, and I thought that was fine. And she's also obviously going to be in the upcoming battle with Phyrexia. They did this weird thing where they're like, yeah, Kaya will lead the group against Phyrexia, and I had to question why. She doesn't have any qualifications. There's this weird desire by WotC to push her to be the face of the franchise, I guess, because they keep putting her everywhere, even though, like, I don't know anybody who likes Kaya, but Wizards keeps wanting to use Kaya. It's weird to me. But yeah, so I probably talked for a lot there. I just don't like how she was utilized in the story. And there's a lot of underutilization for her, too. You know, it doesn't really matter. Point is, at the end of the day, you know, sure, there's the whole publicity representation thing that I hate, but that's not the reason I don't like Kaya. I don't like Kaya just because she's a bad character. After her introduction, she had a stellar introduction, but after that, she has gone around, ruined basically every plane she's touched, either by intentionally making it worse or just due to negligence on her behalf, and she's suffered no consequences for it. She keeps showing up as this almost Mary Sue-esque character, and I'm tired of her. I am as tired of her now as I was with Jace back in 2017 or so. And, you know, I know we're going to see a lot more of her. I know that WotC is going to keep pushing her as the main character for a bit. And I wish that we got the Kaya that we were initially offered. The cool ghost hunting adventures Kaya. And now I just made myself really sad thinking about what could have been. You know, think about Kaya going around on Innistrad, killing these terribly ancient ghosts that are harassing the civilians. You know, think about Kaya fighting the Anaki spirits on Chandalar. That would have been fucking cool. But no, instead we get Kaya who goes from plane to plane, making things worse without no repercussions. Thanks for listening to my rambling, guys. I hope you guys have a good night, and I will catch you in whatever video I make next. Ciao.